How do you manage then, when things seem to be going so well, there must be a real buoyant mood within the camp. How do you manage to keep that going?
Well, I think the players are showing signs of the hard work that's going on. So when we were losing games and getting beat, I'm still pretty similar. As I've said it before, as regards to a belief in what I do, I believe in the players, and it was just trying to get that to turn. Now it's slowly starting to turn. Now with the challenge is, can you maintain it? It's not as easy as, we'll just rock up and win every week. It doesn't happen. You're going to get knocks along the way. So, but the one thing that will always happen, there'll always be hard work going on the training ground.
How do you prepare when you've got these 3 games within a week period? Do you do things differently? Do you almost think we won't do as much training because actually they've got so much time out on the pitch?
It's hard to do any training. It's pretty much recovery sessions. So there's a bit more classroom work goes on. So a bit more analysis and a bit more watching and learning rather than, because you can't do it on the training ground. So when I say that, I don't mean we're sat in here for an hour going through because you can paralysis by analysis sort of scenario. So, but we just touch on little things, individual, whether it's units, individuals, or the team, just so there's been a little bit more classroom work.
How different are Newport and Bury, and therefore how different do you have to approach those games?
They're both good teams. I think Bury are the best team in the league personally. I know they're not in first position. I've said before, I think Lincoln will win the league, and I still believe Lincoln will win the league. But they've got some good players, Bury. They've probably drawn too many games, so we're going up there knowing that they're a very good team, and we're going to have to be right on it to get anything out of the game.
Who are their particular sort of strong points, and how do you therefore adapt your play, your techniques in order to try to overcome those and put your stamp on the game?
They've got some good players, but in Danny Mayer, I think he's the best player in the league. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he can hurt you in many different ways. So we're aware of him. They've got lots of good players, but he's, like I said, I think he's the best player in the league.
They've had a couple of games when they've scored a lot of goals as well, so they certainly know how to go and knock them in.
Yeah, so people like Nicky Maynard in the team, he's scored goals his whole career. Someone we actually looked at, tried to get him in, but he'd already gone into Bury. So good player, good goal scorer, but like I said, they can hurt you in lots of different types of ways. So we need to be on it.
Are the players excited, almost as excited as you were when you spoke on Saturday? You said, I'm already starting to think about the game. Are they quick to move on to the next one, to think, yes, we've had a victory, but we need to be thinking straight away about the next game?
I think players probably enjoy the win a little bit more. Not that I don't enjoy the win. As a manager, I think, I said it on Saturday, I think you do move on quickly when you've won. It's great, that's done. When you lose, it stays with you quite a long time. From the players' point of view, not seen them yet this morning, but I'd imagine they'll be bouncing around. But they'll be made fully aware of the challenge put in front of them on Tuesday.
And do you have to ever be thinking in the back of your mind, you have got Accrington coming up as well, do you have to take it one game at a time, or do you have to sometimes think a little bit further into the future?
It's always one game at a time, but there is always a bigger picture thinking. So with Jacob in particular, is he fit? You could risk him for a game, but you might lose him for 10, so you've got to weigh up the risks. So the thinking is everything's about tomorrow, but the bigger picture is that you're always watching games because of the games coming up, because like you said, they come so quick, you can't watch, it's impossible to watch 3 games, Bury playing 3 games today, so that's ideally what we want to try and do.
Any other niggles or injuries which might have an impact on your team selection?
I don't know yet. Gav's, the players are arriving now, so I don't think there's anything from Saturday. So other than Jacob and the obvious ones of Longy and Dorse, I don't think there's anything that we're aware of yet.
The weather might not be brilliant tomorrow. Will that have an impact on kind of how the game goes? I can imagine if it's wet and windy and foul, it's not exactly going to make for the best game ever. But do you therefore try and think how might that change your tactics a bit?
Well, the chance I will be. I live about 10-15 miles from Bury, so I know the climate well. But I think the pitch is good. The players have to adapt. Wet, windy, sunny, dry. It shouldn't really make a difference. The pitch is green, it's got white lines, and there's a ball. So it shouldn't change too much. So yes, we might have to tweak certain things, which we would do on the day, and ask slightly different things. But generally, I don't think the same for both teams.